we're going to be looking at how to find different measures of variation within a data set. So a couple things we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how to find the interquartile range and standard deviation. They're a little different than mean or median because they tell and give us an idea of how spread out the numbers are. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find those values with our data set number 1. And I already have that in the calculator, as you can see on the screen. So I'm going to go to Stat, Calc, and go to one variable stat. And for those two measurements, the interquartile range, to find the interquartile range, you have to do the third quartile and subtract the first quartile. So in this case, it's 9.5 minus 4.5, which would be 5. The next part I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back up, and I'm looking for this symbol that I'm circling, which happens to be right here, and that's called the standard deviation. And we're going to round that answer to the nearest tenth. So in this case, 2.65 would round to 2.7. Now we're going to go back through and go into the second set of data. So I'm going to press Stat again, go to Edit, and I'm going to clear out the first set, and I'm going to pause the video and then I'll come back with the second set of numbers in. So I have the 10 numbers in from data set 2. So again, I'm going to go back to the one variable stat. I'm going to calculate. And right now what we have for first the quartiles, for the quartile 3 minus quartile 1 for the interquartile range, we have 8 minus 6, which ends up equaling 2. And then for our standard deviation, which you can see up here at the top of the screen, that standard deviation means, in this case, the nearest tenth to be 1.4. So basically what that tells us is that the numbers from data set 1, you can see there's more of them, they're more spread out than the numbers from data set 2. And that typically happens when you have more data or the numbers are farther apart. So now I move down to exercise 3, and I'd like you to take a minute, go to the stats section, input these numbers, and then come up with answers for the mean, the interquartile range, and the standard deviation. And once you do that, just call myself or someone else in the room over to check it. Now I move to exercise number 5, and exercise 5 talks about 4 different data sets, and it's asking which of the data sets would have a standard deviation that would be closest to 0. So you could, if you wanted to, you could take all the sets of data, put them into the stat section, go to one variable stat, and see what you get for answers. But again, if the standard deviation is close to 0, that's going to mean that there's very little spread in the numbers. So in this case, we're just looking for, at our lists, which of the sets of numbers has values that are closest together. So in this case, like for example, it's not going to be 2, because we have a range of 15 for 2. So max minus min, again, 20 minus 15. So if you look for the one with the smallest range, it's going to lead us to the smallest standard deviation. So like in this case, the answer would be 3, because we only have 5 data values, and they only range from 11 to 13. So after you get done with exercise 3 and had that checked, start taking a look at the homework questions on the next page. And then once you get done with that, have myself or someone in the classroom check that for a grade for you.